General Hospital spoilers for Wednesday, June 10. A baby shower turns into a pressure cooker. I have to say, this is the kind of General Hospital episode that makes me lean forward a little more than usual. On paper, it looks like a baby celebration. In practice, it feels like a match dropped into dry brush. We are getting smiles, speeches, and pastel decorations, sure, but underneath all that soft lighting, I can already feel the sparks waiting to fly. And in Port Charles, when everyone gathers for a joyful occasion, that usually means somebody is about to get cornered, exposed, or emotionally flattened. The big event is the baby shower for Portia and Curtis, and that alone gives the day a certain tension. Baby showers on this show are rarely just baby showers. They become confession booths with balloons. They become battlegrounds with cupcakes. And if you ask me, the reason they hit so hard is simple. They force people who are already carrying resentment to stand in the same room and pretend everything is fine. How long can anyone keep that act going before the mask slips? That is exactly why the expected conversations between Isaiah and Jordan and between Curtis and Portia matter so much. These are not throwaway exchanges. They are the kind of scenes that tell us where the emotional fault lines are cracking. Isaiah showing up and asking Jordan whether she has really started believing Curtis's lies is especially sharp. That is not a casual question. That is a probe, a dare, a tiny verbal blade wrapped in politeness. And Jordan, for her part, is not the type to hand over her trust easily. So when Isaiah presses her, I am not expecting warmth. I am expecting the temperature in the room to drop. Here's what I find most interesting. Isaiah is not just asking about facts. He is asking about perception. He is asking whether Jordan has been pulled into a version of the story that may not match what is actually happening. That distinction matters. So many conflicts on General Hospital are not just about who did what, but about who believes what they were shown. That is where chaos breeds. One person hears one story, another hears a different one, and suddenly the truth is buried under a pile of half-lies and wounded pride. For example, when one character thinks they are defending themselves while another thinks they are being manipulated, the argument becomes less about the event and more about loyalty. That is when relationships start to splinter. Then we have Curtis, who sounds as if he is setting a very clear boundary. He is not looking for a fight, but he is not planning to back down if somebody pushes him. That line tells me everything I need to know. Curtis is in that dangerous emotional zone where a man has decided he will stay calm, but only up to a point. You know the type of moment. I mean, the voice stays low. The jaw tightens. The restraint looks almost noble until someone touches the wrong nerve. And at a baby shower, with family and friends all gathered around, that nerve is probably close to the surface. He may say he wants peace, but peace and pride rarely share the same chair on this show. What makes that especially compelling is that Portia is there too, which means this is not just Curtis defending himself in a vacuum. This is a shared storm. If the two of them are even slightly out of sync, everyone around them will feel it. And that is how soap tension works at its best. Not through explosions alone, but through the unbearable pause before one. A table full of guests, a few forced smiles, one pointed comment, and suddenly the whole room is walking on broken glass. I would not be surprised if this baby shower ends with everyone remembering the awkward silence more than the cake. Meanwhile, Sidwell is circling his own mess, and this one feels like the kind that can turn dangerous very fast. He realizes that the blackmail photos of Laura and Sonny have disappeared from the safe at Windermere, and he quickly concludes that Lucas is behind it. That is a big leap, but on General Hospital, big leaps are often the ones that land closest to the truth. The real question is not only whether Lucas took the photos, it is what Sidwell does with that belief. Does he go after Lucas directly? Does he start tightening the screws on everyone connected to the theft? Or does he begin playing a quieter, nastier game? I think that is what makes Sidwell such a volatile figure. He is not just angry, he is wounded in a way that makes him dangerous. When a character loses leverage, the reaction is rarely clean. It becomes personal. It becomes obsessive. For example, someone who feels exposed may not simply lash out at the person they suspect. They may go after a friend, a witness, or anyone they believe could unravel the whole chain. That is why Lucas may need to be very, very careful. In Port Charles, being right does not always keep you safe. Sometimes it paints a target on your back. Then there is the lighter thread, if we can even call it that, with Emma and Gio. I say lighter, but the vibe still sounds prickly. Emma apparently knocks into him or throws something his way while he is sunbathing at the Quartermain boathouse, and he asks what her problem is. She replies that he knows exactly what he did. That is not playful teasing. That is accusation with a sunny day backdrop. It is almost funny in a painful way because soap conflict loves to arrive in the most ordinary settings. One minute you are relaxing in the sun, and the next you are being treated like you committed a crime against the entire emotional order of the universe. And honestly, that is a pairing dynamic I would not ignore. Emma and Gio already have the kind of friction that can either explode or morph into chemistry. We have seen this pattern before. A sharp exchange, a wounded stare, a defensive retort, and then all of a sudden the audience starts noticing how often the two of them are in each other's orbit. If you ask me, the important thing is not whether they are fighting. It is why the fight is sticking. People do not keep returning to the same argument unless something underneath it still matters. That is the little clue I would keep my eye on. Now let us step into the Willow and Brooke Lynn situation, because this feels like one of the more loaded beats in the teaser. Willow is shocked, and Brooke Lynn apologizes to someone, while a separate preview has Brooke Lynn telling Willow that they should resolve this once and for all. That line is doing a lot of work. It suggests closure, but it also suggests a confrontation that may be overdue and ugly. The best soap confrontations are rarely neat. They are usually built out of old injuries, missed apologies, and one final moment when everybody gets tired of pretending the issue will disappear on its own. Could Brooke Lynn be apologizing to Willow? Maybe. Could the apology be too little too late? Also, maybe. But the part that interests me most is the possibility that the apology is not the end of the scene, it is the opening move. Sometimes a character apologizes because they are trying to soften the blow before saying something harsher. Sometimes the apology is sincere, but it arrives in the middle of a truth that cannot be taken back. That is the kind of emotional trap General Hospital loves to build. You think the air is clearing, and then one more sentence changes everything. And then, of course, we get the Windermere captivity thread, which is not subtle at all and does not need to be. Cassius is in a cell. Liesl is speaking to him, and Jocelyn says that this is his chance to help them get out. Cassius looks rattled, and I cannot blame him. He is not exactly standing in the role of heroic rescuer here. He is boxed in, pressured, and clearly sitting inside a situation that could collapse at any second. That alone would be enough, but the twist hanging over all of it is even sharper. Liesl may realize Cassius is not Nathan. That possibility changes the air completely. Because once Liesl starts seeing through the disguise, the whole conversation becomes a minefield. What does Cassius know? What is he hiding? And how far will the lie stretch before it snaps? This is where the show gets especially good, in my opinion. Not at the reveal itself, but at the moment before the reveal fully lands, when one character starts suspecting something and every sentence suddenly carries double meaning. For example, a simple question like, "Who are you really helping?" becomes much more dangerous when the person answering might not even be who they claim to be. And that final detail, that Cassius may confess to someone, is the kind of tease that keeps me hooked. Confess what, exactly? To who? About Nathan? About the prison? About Jocelyn and Liesel? Or about something even bigger that has not surfaced yet? I think the smartest way to read this episode is not as a collection of separate scenes, but as one long, tightening coil. The baby shower is the social pressure point. Sidwell is the threat moving in the shadows. Emma and Geo are simmering. Willow and Brooke Lynn are circling the truth. And Cassius may be standing on the edge of a confession that could blow the whole structure open. That is why I would not call June 10 a calm episode in disguise. I would call it a trap dressed up as a celebration. And the fun part, the painful part, the very soap opera part is that everyone in Port Charles seems to be walking into it thinking they still have control. Do they? That is the question hanging over the whole hour. And by the end, I suspect a few of them will discover they never did.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.